Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are watching us from. On the behalf on behalf of the National Institute for International Cooperation and Engagement of the Water Policy Center, it gives me great pleasure to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished speakers, chair, and participants who have joined this session. To chair this session, we have Dr. Uma Purushothaman with us today. It is my great pleasure to introduce the chair. Dr. Uma Purushottam is Assistant Professor at Department of International Relations and Politics at Central University of Kerala. She was earlier a research fellow at Observer Research Foundation, New Delhi. An alumna of JNU, she has worked with the United Services Institution of India and SAGE publications. Her areas of interest include US foreign and domestic policies, great power politics, human security, food security, foreign aid, and software. Without extending further, let me request Dr. Uma Purushothaman to take charge of this session.
Thank you so much for that very warm introduction.
Ma'am, you are mute. We can't hear you.
Sorry. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. We are going to, this session is going to look at something which is, I think, weighing on everyone's minds these days, how or if the pandemic has actually upended the teaching learning process or the education system as we know it. And it is, for me, something which is of great personal interest because as an educator, as a researcher, and as a mother of a 6-year-old child, so this is something which resonates with me a lot. So without further ado, let me introduce the first speaker to you. Professor Lipi Ghosh. She is a very well-known scholar who's written several books and several articles, particularly on Southeast Asia. She is with the University of Calcutta. Professor Ghosh will be speaking on, one second. She'll be speaking on the new normal in post-pandemic India. So basically what the new normal means for education in India and how it has changed the education, the process of teaching learning in India, I suppose. So Professor Ghosh, over to you, ma'am. Ma'am, your audio is a bit iffy.
And when it started with 21st century, we used to say that 21st century is the new one and the 21st century is the century of learning, 21st century is the century of knowledge and skills. But unfortunately, very soon that COVID-19 or coronavirus pandemic has started. And then we had to switch over the new term that is new normal. And instead of resolving communication, collaboration, creativity outside of home, what we understand is that we see that we show a very unique vision, and that is the vision of new normal. I think education not only the unfair people student which previously now has become normal. In this whole world, include India, to understand different life education sector. All universities and colleges are closed due to national lockdown and current process research activities have been badly stopped. Revamp of educational institutions after lockdown certainly requires some special consideration made. So not just higher education but also school education, etc. will have to give up to stairs, minimum digitization students as well as also accreditation of presentation of some social measures. And I will first my presentation going to 5 is with the most COVID-19 situation. First is the assessment. Second is conducting the examination and mission process for extra. Third one is about presentation sports in the teacher. Fourth one is the issue of social non-facilities. And finally, the issue of regular awareness program. So, let's talk the health security of student, faculty, staff, and to key academic activities. Here we see that regular sanitation rights use mask having now new normal. So, students have to focus on different sections, different departments in most COVID, like pre-department, department, who will always reveal all the question of situation education in health equity of all of faculty students. And for some areas, visually individually like conference room, classroom, laboratories, hotels, etc. And all students and staff will be provided with mask and things, and they will manage a grades while maintaining sections of safety. Second point is new normal education. New parents education system goes to this plan.
Ma'am, if I could just interrupt.
So addition to conduct only online, and in some places where on text are not held, or evaluation like interview
Ma'am, if I could just interrupt, the audio is obstructed. We can't really hear you. If you could just try your speaker once.
Is it better now?
No, ma'am. I think there is some static coming in.
Your voice is coming clear to me.
We can see you, but the audio is not.
But my Wi-Fi is working well. There is no obstruction in the highest speed I understand.
Can you shift to some place else where you have better internet, ma'am?
Sorry, can I
signal is better. No, because initially I thought it's some problem with my, internet connection. So that's why I didn't interrupt you earlier. Deepti, can you hear, madam? Dr. Deepti?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Are you able to hear what Professor Ghosh is saying?
No, ma'am.
Yeah. I wonder what the problem is.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just talk to you. Ma'am?
Just wait. No, I think she's rejoining from a different.
Okay, yeah, because we couldn't hear anything. Initially, I thought.
Yeah.
On my end.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it's from my end.
No.
Oh, there is still a problem.
Problem is persisting. Yeah. Yes.
If everyone knows the audio, I think I can give that
It's actually a network issue. I think if you shift place.
Or should I ask ma'am to speak a little later, so then by then maybe if the internet connection comes back?
I'm not anything.
It's up to you.
Okay, ma'am, you continue. Maybe at some point the internet will come back. Ish. Professor Ghosh?
Trying to connect. She's again trying to connect.
Okay.
Yeah, she says I have some genuine network issue.
Yeah, that's what I could understand. Maybe once she rejoins, it will be better. Let's see.
I suggest the same if you go with the speaker.
Yeah. Should we go to the
Still
next?
not good. Is it time to speak a little bit? Can you come clearly?
Ma'am, your video is very clear. It's just that the audio, there seems to be some problem.
Even the video, is it okay?
Ma'am, you've tried rejoining, no? And even then it's not good.
Hello.
Have you you've
Hello.
tried rejoining, ma'am? Have you tried rejoining? Have you tried?
Very public audio.
Ma'am, can you speak a little later? Maybe then your signal will come back. If you're around, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, this is better, ma'am. Now we can hear you, I think.
Okay. So let me continue. So I was drawing with the second point that how will be the new education pattern. So what I feel that most of the admissions should be online, and it should be organized in different clusters or different cities of the students where they live, instead of bringing them into the campus, and as much as possible it should be online. Then there would be there should be plan for staggered or time specific launch of academic session. And what we also feel that alternate coursework is also needed, and there is also suggestion advice from different institutions that alternate courses should come up, and institutions should use the time to prepare online content, develop virtual classroom, video conferencing, etc. Then this attendance and leave policies needs to be also revised to strike a balance between academic discipline and prevention of outbreak of campus. So whoever were not present during the lockdown period, that period should be deemed to be attended by all. And institutions could reach out to the alumni and final year students also for helping the new year students, for the contemporary students. And then there is a big question that how the laboratory, particularly in the science discipline, can work. Laboratory assignment and practical experiments can be done by virtual laboratories or through recorded visuals of laboratory work and other digital resources. And there may be another system, that is the difference between the class of hostel students and day students. That time slot may be differed, and there should be different allocation of different time slots for lunch and snack break schedules also. Then the conducting of examination should also be as much as possible online, and there may be a choice between qualitative and quantitative. Most of the people, they preferred the quantitative choice, that giving marks, but in this post-pandemic period, it will be better to go for qualitative assessment. Then maintaining the sanctity of academic expectations and integrity of examination process, the university should as much as possible switch over to the CBCS requirement like MCQ, OMR, open book examination, open choices, assignment, and presentation based examinations. And the time of examination may also be reduced from 4 hours or 3 hours to 2 hours, or the minimum one as much as possible. My third point is communication and support system in the post-pandemic period. So every institutions will have communication and support units and a COVID response team. And that way safety, sanitation schedules and hygiene protocols will be maintained by those team. And what we understand that all students, faculty and staff would be required to submit an undertaking that they were not in close contact with any COVID patient, and they would be required to share their travel history also. So all student, faculty and staff would need to adhere to the social distancing and undergoing testing. Another very important point for every academic institution is that security guards, they should be properly trained to avoid crowding of elevator or keeping queue in proper distance, etc., etc. And one very important thing that following the testing protocol, in other words, all student, faculty and staff will require to procure COVID-19 test certificate. Number 4 is special transport facilities. It may not seem to be very viable for all the institutions, but as much as possible, at least the institutions of higher studies, they can provide, or even institutions at the city level, they can provide some special transport facilities for the students, because public transport system may not be always very safe for the students. And finally, what we see that is there should be always a regular awareness campaign. And that campaign would need to be organized on health and safety practices. Like this, there may be a team like COVID-19 response team, who will always engage themselves in organizing webinars for every faculty, staff, and students on campus and off campus. And they will also create several awareness programs to remind employees to approach and to follow the correct procedures to perform hygiene practices using different social media message like Facebook, SMS, WhatsApp, poster, pocket leaflets, stickers, creative slogans, logos, etc., etc. So I'm at the end of my presentation. So what is my submission is that in India, we see that UGC is that is University Grant Commission is taking some special measures. They have already published some papers, and the universities and other educational institutes need to follow those as much as possible. We must be optimistic that we can reinvent work again and engage the students in effective and constructive way. And pandemic has definitely shifted our attention to another point, that is we need to keep our mental spirit up. That way, although we are in a lockdown situation, it is a kind of necessity. It is a kind of necessity to remain aware and make the people around yourself, to make them aware that we are going to conquer this difficult situation very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Ghosh, for finishing on time, and sorry about all those technical difficulties. I think Professor Ghosh has covered a whole gamut of issues, right from admissions to training security guards, and I like the fact that she finished on a very optimistic note about how you really need to reinvent. There is always a possibility of reinventing education, and that's how we must move forward. So I'll move on without further ado. I'll move on to the second speaker. This is Professor Mazrul Islam. He's with the SUST and BRAC University in Bangladesh. Professor Mazrul Islam will be speaking on COVID and education. I'm sure he'll bring in some of Bangladesh's experience in his presentation. Over to you, Professor Islam.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. And I'm basically was interested to listen, because we need to know the situation in our neighbors, what is happening in the neighborhood. And when I was invited, I was just thinking that I know about the situation in Bangladesh better since I'm living here, but what is going on to the other neighboring countries, that's important to know. Although we get some glimpses from different sources like newspapers and journals, but it would be heartening to listen and to hear from the colleagues from the neighboring countries. So thank you very much for inviting me, and I will just give a little scenario of what is happening in Bangladesh in both in the primary, secondary, and tertiary education in Bangladesh. Um, you see, like 158 countries around the globe, that UNESCO says is that 80% students are directly affected by this COVID-19, and Bangladesh is no exception. And we, as you know, that being a country like this, where although there is a digital Bangladesh slogan going on for last 10 to 15 years, that we are digitally kind of sound, even in the village level, that of course there are a lot of initiatives has been done, and for last 12 to 15 years we have developed a kind of a digital cord in the lower tier of administrative tier of the country, which is called Upojela or sub district. But when COVID really hit in the country, we have discovered that it is the way it is in the slogans, the mobile phone companies and the government, the way they have been preaching that thing, that it's there and people are quite good of having that internet connection. Even in the sub-district level, we have found that it's probably more into slogan than in the reality. Because when we started to conduct those online classes at some point during June to July, we have found that there are a lot of obstacles coming up from different parts of the country, and students are basically, strictly speaking, unable to continue with the classes. And they tried. We have seen they have tried in many ways. They went up to the roof of their homes. They go to the riverside with the paddy field and lift their mobile phones up in the sky to get connected in the classroom. But ultimately they could not make it. For that reason, in the tertiary level, in the university, we have seen that online classroom has been more in a theoretical level in the rather than in a practical manner, because we could not materialize it very well. Students were kind of complaining, and they could not really attend the classes. So we have got, like any other country, we have got those public and private universities. And particularly for the public universities, we have got around 87 of them, and we have got also more than 100 private universities. So we have seen that both in the private and public, it was a huge challenge to continue with the online classes, particularly with the public university, where students from all kinds of strata come to in the public place universities. They were particularly very challenged by the current situation of digital connectivity in Bangladesh. And about the primary and secondary education, you see they have been given two options. One is some Zoom platform classrooms, and they also offered some of the classes from national television. So, but you see what that through national television, they were not being able to carry forward the entire agenda of education, since there were some limited hours, and there it is not really possible from class 1 to class 10 to continue their, I mean, all kinds of classroom activities through television. So that was just an initiative, but that could not, that could not really supplement the need for their classes alternatively. And about the Zoom classes, the kids are like, they're not at all used to it. They were using their parents' IDs, and they were having their some English medium schools did it a little better, but for the all mainstream Bangla medium school, which is the main national curriculum schools in Bangladesh, they could not make it very well. So it's about 7 months that their educational life has been jeopardized in many ways. And furthermore, the it's not the, just classroom activity that students will teach, and this the teachers will give lectures and students will just receive that. It's about, that it's more than that. The social life of a student, the interaction with the friends and peer groups, and the school culture, that has been totally missed. For, of course, that there is a genuine reason that they cannot go offline, but online cannot supplement it very well. And we have tried it in many ways, but there are so many challenges to supplement that very well. So what is the bottom line? The bottom line is that life of the students are extremely challenged and suffered, and parents are really very worried about that what is, because it's going to be almost 1 year. It's already 7 months has been lost, and it'll be, if things continues, and which has a chance to continue. So this is a kind of a perplex scenario going on in Bangladesh. I'm sure this is also true in many countries around the globe. So what is the remedy? As Professor Ghosh was giving some positive pictures, and keeping her note to some positive conclusion, that we need to be we need to be very positive of that. But what is the alternate pedagogy? What are the alternate way forward? What are the alternate measures that we need to take? So there are some suggestions come from different experts in Bangladesh, that we need to really come forward to that private public partnership that we have been preaching it for a long time, that the telephone companies, the multinationals, the corporations, and the universities, schools, and colleges, they need to come up with a really mutual effort, which can make those online activity kind of a more user-friendly and more operationally successful for the students in every level. Both in the primary, secondary, and also in the tertiary level. For now, as of now, it's not really very successful. And of course, we need to also make some kind of an innovative. We need to sit with because this is the reality that we have no choice, and this is a reality that we need to deal with. So what we really need to do is we need to really synergize our effort and brainstorm our with different levels of experts and different level of stakeholders. And also we need to engage the parents and guardians, how to make it more effective for the students. How to make this digital kind of education more effective for our future generation. And you see, this has already created some of the social problems, because some English medium schools and some well-off families can make it well, but most of the the community who are in a not in an advantageous situation in a country like this, there is already a student education divide has been taking place, because particularly the poor section of the population. I mean, particularly the female students, they will not be able to continue their education furthermore. And for that matter, child labor and early marriage will be some other social problems that will be a reality in the near future. So we need to think it not only from a very strictly on educational point of view, you also need to think it in a societal point of view so that we can address other problems. And my last point is, so what is the solution? The solution is we need to sit together. I mean, we have got efforts which is kind of sporadic. Government is trying in their way, and some private corporations that they're trying to help, but their efforts are very sporadic. The civil societies they are like expressing their opinions in a very different kind of webinars like that. But we need to really coordinate our efforts to a direction where we need to have a comprehensive solution towards this situation. So COVID-19, although has created many problems in the educational sector, and we're really worried about this situation, but it can also usher some windows of opportunities where we can come up with some plausible solutions so that that can solve or at least minimize the problems of higher education in Bangladesh, and of course for the other for that matter for the other countries as well. So with this, I'll stop now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Islam, for taking just 10 minutes, finishing on time. I think there were two takeaways for me from your presentation. One is, of course, that online learning really cannot supplement what you learn by going to a school. I mean, social skills, social life is also very important for schools, for children. I mean, I know this as a mother of a hyperactive 5-year-old, so I can understand exactly this whole time that she's been locked up at home. She's been extremely difficult to manage at times. The second point that I really liked was that that you said that we need to bring in different stakeholders, including civil society, and I believe we could also get corporates to also kind of pitch in to help make digital education better. I was also struck with your point about Bangladesh, the government starting a national channel so that students can watch. And this is something that my state, Kerala, has done. And it's been doing relatively well so far. I mean, the state government has started this. I don't know if the central government has a channel of that sort or different states have that. But so far, it seems to be doing well. And so, like you said, civil society has pitched in Kerala, and people are pooling in money so that people who do not have access to television can get, people are giving people televisions, unused televisions, old televisions and all that. So this is something, like you said, a societal approach is required to make this online education or digital education accessible to everyone. So let me move on to the third speaker. Thank you so much for your presentation, sir. The third speaker is Dr. Deepti Bajpai Mishra. She is with the University of Delhi, and she'll be speaking on transition in teaching learning in the post-pandemic era. So I'm sure she'll give you some perspectives from the capital of India, how they have dealt with it. Dr. Mishra.
Thank you so much, Dr. Purushothaman. A very good afternoon to eminent dignitaries and various academicians. Thank you so much for inviting me. Through my presentation, I would like to throw light on the positive and negative effect of online teaching learning in a country like India. And the title of my presentation is Transition in Teaching Learning in the Post-Pandemic Era. Apparently, the COVID-19 pandemic caused a havoc in the globe. And now we are on the verge of assessing where did we go wrong in our approach to deal with the crisis. It is also tested as to how flexible we can be in adopting digital technology during the time of crisis. Internationally, the majority of students had to pack their bags and go back to their respective countries from different countries of Europe, Australia, and American subcontinents. These countries are remarkably dependent on the movement. India is such country where large number of students go abroad for higher studies. A lot of parents will sidestep from sending their wards to these countries for higher education due to increased risk from the pandemic. The students will take at least a gap of 2 years or maybe more till the time pandemic is entirely under control around the globe. It has given a significant setback to the world-renowned universities. The unexpected entire blueprint, particularly in countries like India, where the infrastructure for the online teaching learning was not ready, has affected in many positive and negative ways. The COVID-19 pandemic has compelled educators and students alike, irrespective of their readiness for this new paradigm, to turn to digital mode. Online teaching has practiced in India for more than a decade, but mostly in informal setup. And this was the first time in Indian history when teaching learning took place online at both school and university level on such a large scale. Online teaching learning is a unique form of technique, and not all teachers are professionally prepared for it and ready for this rapid transition from face-to-face to teaching learning online. Thus, most academic lectures are being conducted on video platforms like Zoom and Google Meet, which may not be real online learning in the absence of a specifically built online platform for the purpose. However, there is a possibility that learning outcomes could not be attained in such scenario, resulting in the students being engaged only. Additionally, because of the digital divide, there is a part of many developing nations, including India, we may leave a large proportion of the student population untouched. Online learning could be sluggish as it is creating a new set of passive learners who are not attentive, which can be a new challenge for teachers. Apart from these unfavorable challenges, there are positive changes happening. While going virtual, some of these I'll be discussing. The upsurge in blended learning. University and colleges will transit to a mixed learning model that will encompass both face-to-face and online education. This will require all teachers to become more educated about this technology and go through some training to get the level required. New ways of implementing and assessing learning outcomes will need to be implemented, opening up enormous potential for significant curriculum and pedagogical change. Active participation of LMS, that is Learning Management System. The companies that have developed and strengthened learning management system for use of universities and colleges, a great opportunity will open. This has the potential to grow at a rapid pace. But all institutions will have to be priced at use. Improvement for materials for learning. Universities and colleges have an excellent opportunity to start improving the quality of the learning material that is used in the teaching and learning process, because blended learning will be the new learning format. There will be a push to find new ways of designing and delivering quality content, primarily because learning management systems are used. Stepping up of collaborative work. This teaching community had been isolated to a large extent, and more so in countries like India. Collective learning and teaching have a new chance to take a new form and be monetized. Online courses can be delivered by faculty members, teachers, even to students from competing institutions. There may also be collaboration among faculty teachers across the nation to benefit from each other. Finally, a massive increase in teleconferencing opportunities is expected, which can also have a negative impact on travel. A growing number of academic meetings, workshops, and conferences will migrate online. We're experiencing one. A business model, there is a chance that new form of an online conference platform will arise. After all this, there is one certainty that we can envisage, and that is going to change how higher education will operate globally in India. India is not just going through a reform in a higher education sector, but now it will go through a significant transformation in general. Teachers as well as students learn how to operate digital platforms quickly according to the need of the hour. Reflected that at the time of crisis, we are open and flexible to the novel methods. Must not stop, come what may. Online educational pedagogy is an essential connection between the content of the classes, the instructor technology and the content takers technology. Technology democratization is a real concern, including internet connectivity, online system affordability, computer availability, software educational tools, online assessment tools, etc. But it's a reality that technology-based education is more straightforward and doesn't allow gender or competence partiality. In the coming years, the use of technology for teaching and learning or recruitment will result in a new era wherein students would have the best faculties available to them all over the world. The quality of education the quality of education will be measured not only by the quality of the faculty, but also by the quality of the IT technology and by the orientation of the faculty as essential criteria of digital teaching technologies. Lastly, we need to keep a few points in mind. A virtual classroom is very different from a physical one, and students tend to lose attention quickly if the class is not engaging enough. Most teachers run presentations or indulge in monologues, which make grave mistakes as that they tend to wear the student out. Teachers should instead adopt a flipped classroom approach to increase student engagement and active learning. In a flipped classroom, students watch online lectures and collaborate in online discussions. It tends to engage in concepts in the school under the supervision of a mentor. A teacher's interaction with students in a flipped classroom can be more personalized, less didactic, and students are actively involved in knowledge acquisition and construction as they participate in and evaluate their learning. A tool for synchronous teaching and learning, such as Google Meets, Microsoft Team meetings, or Zoom. A tool for asynchronous teaching like learning such as Screencastify, Screencast-O-Matic, or Microsoft Team. Lastly, online ethics should be followed by teachers, students, and their parents. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Deepti Bajpai Mishra. Uh, I think there were some very interesting points that you made, particularly this idea of passive learners. This is something that you come across when you teach, because you can't really keep an eye on who is listening to you, who's not listening to you. And then there is always the excuse that, ma'am, my internet is not working. What can I do? And so that's why I couldn't hear what you said.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But that's really weird
Oh.
for all of us, because I've experienced this. So yeah, but the idea of flipped classroom is something which I think really we should really be looking at more. Uh, I haven't received any questions in the chat box as such. So I had a set of questions for each of you. I will start in the order in which we started this discussion, because our fourth speaker is not around. She is not joining us today. Uh, so my question to Professor Ghosh is, because Madam spoke about particularly about the universities. So two questions for ma'am actually. One is that in the United States, we have seen some of the colleges have been reopening. And what has happened is that, these are people who have just crossed their teenage, graduate students. And what they have done is, you have these stories about these students, throwing parties to see who gets COVID first. There's this something which is completely plausible in India as well when students come back to their hostels. So this is something that really should worry us all. And particularly, the government, I think, is thinking of opening up educational institutions. Uh, I understand that some states are more affected and some states are less affected. But so for instance, in Kerala, if they're able to control the pandemic, yes, education institutions can open. But what happens to central government institutions where you have students from different states? There might be students from states which are very badly affected. So what do you do in this kind of situation? Do you let a certain number of students from states which are not affected come back to the university, and let the rest stay back and continue online education? So what exactly can we do in this kind of scenario? Dr. Ghosh, any thoughts on this?
Yes. Thank you, madam. I think I must stop my video, otherwise the sound is cracking.
You're
So
clear.
what is what
Your voice is clear.
is it not clear?
It is clear. It is
Ah,
clear.
yes, 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 because I stopped my video. Yes. So now what I would suggest that before we open up anywhere, whether school, university, or college, there should be some awareness program, whether through television or through radio or through online process. Some awareness should be created. I agree to the point that it is very difficult to control the youth, particularly in assembling, or but in spite of that, what I feel that if we keep on uh, giving certain message in a continuous process, it will definitely leave some impact on the students. And it is also true that we should generate the essence of this fear that what may happen if they don't follow the regulations. But at the same time, we should also keep the this message of optimism also, that we will do, but with all precautions, so that we don't get infected like that. And for that, it is necessary that for the university level, for the government level, and the parents also at family level, they will teach them, they will make them aware that what may happen and may not happen. But in spite of that, it is true that some particular ratio of population cannot be controlled. But in spite of that, this awareness program should be very much tacit and very much practical to control this situation, any negative situation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. That makes sense. Professor Islam, my question is, I mean, you spoke about schools as well. Uh, when you read up about the pandemic and education, a lot of people have started saying that, you know, we need to think beyond just getting degrees, you know, MA degrees or BA degrees, and move ahead to lifelong education, that you have to keep learning throughout your life. Now, is that a model which can work in South Asia? I mean, given
Thank
our constraints, is it a model that can work in South Asia?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Uma. Of course, I mean, this we need to also think about those kind of lifelong kind of a new pedagogical innovation, where it's not entirely new. You know, this is something that we have learned from a lot of educators. I mean, John Dewey and you know and the others who have been advocating for those parallel kind of education throughout their life. But you see where our education is more of a vertical nowadays, and we don't, this is kind of a like that the professors or teachers will just give something and teach, and students will receive something, but that's confined into the classroom, and that's it. And but as you said, that could be a lifelong kind of a new kind of innovative pedagogical options, where we can have kind of this digitally driven society. And also that I'm sure that one day this pandemic will be over and we can get back to offline thing, but our learning with the digital thing will not be gone entirely. So with this combination, what we can make our homes and neighbors. You see, this is a platform that we need to we can use due to the digital, I mean, advantage. And we have seen that how this COVID-19 has given some opportunity to synergize the academic resources from around the world. We can connect. So for example, we all have connected from the neighbors right now, and that was not being very possible offline, because that takes so much of resources, time and energy and efforts and money to do this. But there are some advantage of online thing that we have learned, that we can make it, I mean, more doable online. So with this learning, and also as you have suggested, that the lifelong kind of an educational options, so we can just incorporate those together, and we can come up with some new pedagogical approach where we can find out some innovative way of learning and teaching.
Right, right. My third question is to Deepthi. Uh, you mentioned the digital divide in your presentation. So, and it is not a divide which is going to be easy. I mean, we were having problems even with Professor Ghosh. She's from Calcutta. I mean, that's a metro city, and yet our internet connection is so iffy. Uh, so do you think, I mean, beyond internet connection, there is also the problem of having access to laptops and to smartphones. Do you think the government in some way can subsidize laptops and smartphones for students who are, not able to procure those, equipments? Do you think that's is there any way the government can do this, maybe with help from corporates, like I mentioned earlier? What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, ma'am. It's a very big idea, right? Pertinent question you asked. We have a problem of digital divide, and subsidized phones and laptops should be provided to students who are economically weaker and cannot access. They do not have access to it. They cannot afford it. The government should come out with the plans that they should provide these, gadgets to the people, to the students who need that, because there are many students from, villages or, lower cities who can't afford. So that should be done by the government.
Yeah, my last
and
question to the
and the stakeholders.
Yeah, yeah, okay. My last question is to either of the two Indian participants, one of you, if you could answer this. What does the new education policy really say about online education, particularly in schools? Does the NEP say anything about online education or how to go about it? I mean, of course, because it was drafted much before the pandemic, but still, I would like to know.
Actually, yes, absolutely. It drafted much earlier, as nothing particular is mentioned in the policy which recently came, but yes, these be, catered. This thing should be addressed, because this is the problem which came, which nobody, which was not, forced. We did not foresee it. It came. So,
Professor Ghosh, anything you would like to add?
I hope I'm audible.
That talking about is skill-based education. Nowadays, this new education policy is talking about skill-based education, and what I feel is that under this NEP, there is also another provision, that is many startup policies, startup projects. So that way, perhaps for future, we can think that it will come up, although it is not specifically mentioned in the policy, but it is when compelled to come up, definitely in process, maybe in near future.
Yeah, it's something that we really have to address. I think we have had a set of three very interesting, very diverse presentations today. And unfortunately, our fourth speaker was not able to join us. But I think there was a lot of food for thought in each of the presentations that we had in this session. Let me, on behalf of NEES and WPC, thank all of the speakers today for the excellent presentations. Uh, we have learned a lot, and there's a lot of room, food for thought that we've all got. And let me wind up here. And thank you, NEES and WPC, for organizing this mega webinar in a sense. Thank you so much. Thank you, speakers. We really appreciate you taking time out to speak to us.
Thank you.
Thanks to
Thank
the
you.
chairperson also.
Yeah, thank you very much. You did it very well as chair. I mean, you did a real good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Surabhi? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, winding. Vote of thanks.
Yes, okay. Distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of this session, it's my great honor to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of NIICE and WPC. I would like to express our gratitude and sincere thanks to Dr. Uma Purushothaman for accepting our request to chair the session. Our sincere thanks goes to all the speakers for delivering such a comprehensive and insightful presentation. We are honored to have all the speakers with us here today. We would like to acknowledge our gratitude to our friends from diplomatic community, experts, academia, media, and different organizations. Last but not the least, I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for our audience who participated in the webinar and those who are watching us live. We are truly honored to have you all with us this morning and hope to stay connected with you in future as well. I request all of you kindly join us for the next session. Thank you.